Now, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has directed that Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jane Mensah, appears before Parliament over the controversial proposed constitutional instrument. The EC was represented in Parliament on Thursday by Deputy Commissioner Bosman Asari, but was opposed by the NDC group in the House, prompting some disagreement as Parliament sat deep into the night. We'll hear from the Speaker shortly. First, listen to Minority Leader Dr. Kaisel Atuforsen insisting that the chairperson makes an appearance herself.
Invited, or the subsidiary legislation suggested and proposed to the House, of which we have adopted, that the two institutions should sit together to listen to themselves and also for members to listen to the two of them to make a determination. And most importantly, for us to have an assurance from the two institutions before the CI will proceed to its lane. Speaker, unfortunately, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is not here. I recognize, the Speaker, that the deputy is here, but it is not the same as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. It is not the same. The Speaker, most particularly, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission has consistently avoided Parliament. Consistently avoided Parliament. The Speaker, our concern is a genuine concern. The Speaker, in fact, we are of the view that the issues that we have raised today in this chamber since morning are serious issues that we prefer and we want the Electoral Commissioner to be here, to be the one to give us the needed assurances before we can proceed on this part. But her absence will make it very difficult for us, the Speaker, to accept the deputy to be the one to give that kind of assurances.
Majority Leader Hausa Chairman Zabonsu explained that the invitation sent out to the EC did not specifically request that Madam Jane Mensah herself appears before the House.
The invitation was to two institutions, and that his preference and the preference of the majority is that the two institutions should be represented by their heads. The chairperson then gave an indication that the invitation indeed was to the institutions and not to the chairs.
We can now hear from the Speaker, who says the new CI has serious implications and therefore the EC chairperson herself must come before the House.
The deputy chairperson in charge of operation is quite high enough, but he cannot be given the assurances that the chairperson will give. In the circumstances, I will be compelled to adjourn the House. We will insist that the EC be represented at the highest level, and together we'll find solutions to this. It's very, very important for the peace, the security, and the development of this nation.
So let me take you to Parliament now and speak about and understand what's happening there. Kweku, what's the latest from Parliament? Kweku, I'm trying to find out from you what is the latest, what's happening in Parliament as of now.
So the majority side has informed Parliament that they announced last week that President Akufo-Addo will be presenting the State of the Nation address on the 28th of February. That would have been next week. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, the date has now been moved to the 8th of March. The minority side has been asking for the majority side to explain to them what exactly has necessitated this change from the 28th of February to the 8th of March. But the majority side say that the president is under no obligation to explain to Parliament why exactly he is changing the date. And once he is within the constitutional limit to present the State of the Nation address, then he'll be able to do so. So that is the first thing. The second has to do with yesterday's little commotion in the House as regards to the EC's proposed CI and the issues that have come thereof. The minority side have been pressing that the majority side should give a new date that they expect the Electoral Commissioner, Madam Jane Mensah herself, to appear before Parliament to apprise MP on the proposals and the requests that have been made by the minority to remove that requirement, that will make the Ghana card the sole identity document that would allow someone to register as a voter. The majority chief whip, Frank Anodon has been explaining that they are working on a date with the Electoral Commission to ensure a suitable day for Madam Jean Mensa to appear before Parliament.
So as we speak, we do not know when that date is, right?
We do not know that. Our understanding is that the Electoral Commissioner herself is currently outside the country doing some work related to the Nigerian election. That has not come up on the floor, but the majority side has been promising that they are going to liaise with the Electoral Commission to be able to find a date, a new date to be able to come around as soon as possible to deal with this matter.
Okay, grateful to you, Kweku. Now, Ghana's IMF package is in severe crisis. German ambassador as he calls on businessmen in Ghana trading with China to join effort to convince China, which is reluctant on debt relief. Now, Ambassador Daniel Kroll says Ghana has more ministers than Germany and that there's room for improvement on downsizing. My colleague Blazer Soga is attending a news conference where the German ambassador has been speaking. We'll be connecting with him shortly with update. But first, let's hear from His Excellency Daniel Kroll.
President, the Minister of Finance have appealed to the German visitors to support Ghana in convincing China to come to the table. We are ready to do that. We already are in that. At the same time, I would like to encourage all Ghanaians who have strong ties with China, who are doing nice business with China, to also engage them and convince them that it's time to sit down with all the other creditors and agree on a package. Time is of the essence. Time is running out. Without this agreement with the bilateral creditors, the IMF package is in severe danger. So if there's any Ghanaian member of parliament listening who is very much engaged with business in China, please make best use in the interest of Ghana and the people in Ghana. I said Germany is prepared to help. And there's another criterion, and that is that we, of course, expect that Ghana itself, the government of Ghana, is taking the important steps that are needed to move this country, to move the people, the families out of this crisis. And there are important steps to take. On the revenue collection side, it's about property tax collection. It's on the expenditure side. It's about, basically, it's about the energy sector.
Oh, that's a serious one. Let's go live now and speak to Blazer Soga for latest. Blazer, that's a serious thing to hear, that it looks like our effort to get an IMF deal is hitting a snag now. What more has he been telling you, or what more do we know from this news conference?
Well, so there's a passionate appeal from the German authorities indicating that although they would accept President Akufo-Addo's invitation to assist in diplomatic talks with China in terms of our external debt restructuring, they would equally require the support of Ghanaian businessmen, wealthy ones, of course, and very influential ones. You know that China is Ghana's largest trading partner, so definitely there's a lot of business interest here in Ghana. And so the appeal is that while some talks and negotiations are going on the side, let's try and have influential Ghanaian businessmen also speak to their Chinese counterparts, so we're able to get that critical external debt restructuring, because China alone owns about a third of that $5.7 billion US dollars that the Americans, that the Republic of Ghana is seeking some debt relief on. And so that's why, of course, the German ambassador held a press briefing today on that, and that high-level visit that was done by the Economic Cooperation Minister and Trade Minister from Germany, who both engaged the Finance Minister yesterday on some measures that Ghana could also be taking internally to support that economic recovery journey. He was big on the aspects of cutting costs, particularly when it comes to the issues of the size of government. He says that comparatively, if you look at what's happening in Germany, there are less ministers as compared to what's happening to a country such as Ghana. So in his view, those are some of the ways by which we could demonstrate commitment to the G20. And mind you, the G20 is critical because they are the framework of wealthy nations that mostly give credit to Ghana. And his belief is that once we have that demonstration going on, Germany would have it easier in terms of negotiating with its, Ghana's external partners to try and, of course, push through that proposal of a debt relief. But for now, it is clear that there are some challenges in terms of our talks with China, and there'll be a need for an extraordinary measure to try and push through our debt restructuring, which is critical to the International Monetary Fund austerity plan that we're hoping for by the end of the first quarter.
Okay, grateful. Blessed Sogan is my colleague here at JoyNews. Now, let's still stay on geopolitics because Ghana is listed amongst a total of 147 member states of the United Nations which voted overwhelmingly in favor of a resolution demanding Russia withdraws its troops from Ukraine. Today marks exactly a year of fighting and bloodshed as tensions continue to escalate between the two countries. President Akufo-Addo at the 77th UN General Assembly exclaimed how the unending war is affecting countries such as Ghana.
By 2021, COVID-19 had pushed Africa into the worst recession for half a century. A slump in productivity and revenues, increased pressures on spending, and spiraling public debts confronted us without relent. As we grappled with these economic challenges, Russia's invasion of Ukraine burst upon us, aggravating an already difficult situation. It is not just the dismay that we feel at seeing such deliberate devastation of cities and towns in Europe in the year 2022. We're feeling this war directly in our lives in Africa. Every bullet, every bomb, every shell that hits a target in Ukraine hits our pockets and our economies in Africa. The economic turmoil is global, with inflation as the #1 enemy this year. It hit a 40-year high in the United States and United Kingdom in recent months. There's record inflation in the Eurozone. Several African countries have inflation rates surging 3 to 4 times higher than what they were just 2 years ago. In Ghana, we're experiencing the highest inflation for 21 years. The high costs of food are hurting the poor, especially the urban poor, the most.
Now, Blessed Soga of JoyNews International Desk gives us further details on this.
The resolution drafted by Ukraine in consultation with its allies had 141 countries voting in favor of that resolution. Now, 7 countries, Belarus, Nicaragua, Russia, Syria, North Korea, and also some other African countries, including Mali, which has some special military arrangements with Russia, voted in favor of that resolution. Now, there was many as 32 abstentions, and of course, some of the names prominent on that include the likes of India, South Africa, and that's happening because of that special alliance these group of nations have with Russia under the BRICS arrangement. So in all, 141 voting in favor, and that list actually includes Ghana. Then we have 7 abstaining, and obviously we know that would have Russia, Syria, and North Korea on that special list, and Mali as a result of that special arrangement with the Russian military forces. So in all, that's how the picture is looking like. But for other African countries that are voting against or abstaining in all out of the arrangement, we have South Africa on that list because of the BRICS. And that's what we know so far about the resolution. The U.S. is very firm on that belief that Putin is losing the war. In fact, the United States ambassador to Ghana, Ambassador Palmer, Virginia, indicated in a statement that they are putting in place some mitigation measures to the tune of $2.5 billion US, which is being set aside by the US government in support of countries such as Ghana and other African nations that are being affected by this.
Now, given the effect of the war on Ghana, some international partners are pledging support for the country. The United States government has set aside $2.5 billion US as mitigation aid for countries such as Ghana affected by the war.
European Union, being the European Union, we have undertaken to alleviate the consequences, especially when it comes to food security, of the blockade organized by Russia. I think it's very important to remember that Russia organized the blockade of exportation of grain and fertilizer from Ukraine. And this is one of the causes of the huge impact at international level of the cost of food, staple and fertilizer. And the European Union has organized what we call EU lane, safe lane, in order to maintain the exportation of grains and fertilizer, besides the UN as well, who have engaged in the so-called Black Sea Initiative, Black Sea Grain Initiative. So while condemning the invasion, while supporting the Ukrainian state to face the aggression, the European Union has maintained its attention on other aspects of the conflict or the consequences of the conflict, which can impact the international community, especially Africa. And I have to say that when it comes to Africa, the European Union has, on top of that, mobilized 1.6 billion euros in terms of food security for the most affected region, Horn of Africa, Sahel region, Southern Africa, and Ghana benefited out of it as well.
Now, Nigerian voters are set to elect a new president after 8 years under President Muhammadu Buhari. But whoever wins will face some tough challenges. It will be the largest democratic exercise on the continent as Africa's most populous nation picks a new president. The crucial election comes as the country battles myriad economic and security problems that range from fuel and cash shortages to rising terror attacks, high inflation, and a plummeting local currency. For the first time since the country's return to democratic rule in 1999, none of the candidates is an incumbent or a former military leader. Outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari is term limited and will step down amid a patchy legacy that has brought a lot of frustration and anger to Nigerian voters, according to analysts. So how set are nationals for tomorrow's polls and the atmosphere? Kayla Megwa is a journalist with Channels TV in Abuja.
Is actually pretty tense. A lot of people are getting ready for this particular exercise. Over 93 million registered voters in Nigeria will be taking part in this exercise. Here in the nation's capital, about 1.5 million people will be taking part in the exercise. Yesterday night, we were at the FCT INEC office to make sure that the election materials have gotten to the FCT INEC office, and after that will be sent to the 6 area councils. You know, elections in Abuja are a little different. We don't have local government areas, so to speak. We have 6 area councils here. So those materials were sent to the 6 area councils over the cover of darkness yesterday, and everything is being set. We're listening to all of the security operatives speaking up about the conduct of the exercise, giving out emergency numbers that people can call if in your neighborhood you feel like there's some kind of violence erupting, you know, just so you can know that you can reach out and get the help that you need. Thousands of polling stations across the country to cater to these millions of voters. Remember, this particular election is the one that has an additional 13 million registered voters. Only for this exercise, an additional 13 million registered voters, 70% of which are young people. So this is one of those elections where we're going to be looking at how this 13 million additional voters, you know, make themselves known. How do we see their presence at polls, you know, tomorrow? Okay. So it's going to be one of those exercises where we're watching to see how it all plays out. But 93 million voters getting ready to cast their votes in Nigeria's presidential and National Assembly elections tomorrow, the 25th.
Now, Kayla has also been speaking to us about the Senate candidate who was killed and burnt along with his aides in Enugu.
So many disappointing stories. This man who was going to come out for office, attacked. We still don't know what the reason for this attack was. The investigations are still ongoing, but very disappointing situation. And it's one of many disappointing situations that we've seen in the run-up to this election, whatever political rivalries people have been having. And this is something the election umpire has been trying to explain. The president has said this over and over again. We've heard security operatives talk about this. No matter what your political ambitions are, it shouldn't result in senseless violence. And the killing of this man, although we don't know what the actual story is, the investigations are going on, but of course it will be connected to a political situation. And it's one of those situations where we're thinking, why is this happening? How can this continue to happen? How can we have free and fair electoral processes when people are afraid to actually come out and say, I'm going to run for office for fear of what your political opponents would do? So it's a very disappointing situation, and one that we hope will be investigated properly and the perpetrators brought to book, and a lot of lessons to be learned from this.
Now, JoyNews' Mapito CBD visited one of Nigerian lorry terminals around the Kwame Nkrumah Circle to speak with last-minute travelers heading home to cast their vote.
Here with Thomas and John, and we're going to discuss the Nigerian elections as the country goes to the polls tomorrow. What has been the assessment of the current, the ruling party? I'll start with you, John. First of all, let's take a look back at Buhari's administration and your thoughts on it so far.
So far, what I have to say about the Buhari administration in Nigeria, in fact, there's nothing good to write about it since ever. I've not seen such a thing in Nigeria. But what we are seeing this time around is something as insecurity everywhere. There's crises everywhere, killings, a lot of killings from the east, from the north, from the west. In fact, the issue of the election, we pray, let God help us for the election. Because the election, we don't know how the outcome, we don't know how it's going to end tomorrow, but I believe God, that God will do everything.
So is there a reason why you are not going tomorrow or today?
Yes, the problem is just I was supposed to be in for the election, but the only little challenge I had was I was attacked by robbers and they made away with my bag and my PVC, so I was not able to cast my vote. That was
Okay. So, Thomas, your thoughts on the APC and Buhari's administration so far in the 8 years?
For the past 8 years, the things in Nigeria is not moving as it was. Jonathan, many people have been complaining about Jonathan, but things were moving well. But this APC did not go well, especially the entail of the tunnel, money scarcity. Very, very, very tedious and serious matter in Nigeria, as I'm speaking. You have money in bank, you cannot withdraw money. You go to ATM and people are crying, fighting up and down to get their own money, you will not get it. Before you get money, you have to use money to buy money in Nigeria. In fact, at the moment, Nigeria is facing a lot of challenges. So we pray to Almighty God. The election should go smoothly tomorrow, and Nigeria should wisely vote for their choice. That is what it is.
Talking about their choice, who do you think might take it?
Oh, well, the majority of the Nigerians prefer P2B, but politics in Africa as well, it's a different game entirely.
So who do you think might take it tomorrow?
My prayer is for P2B to take it, because we need somebody who will come and rescue us from this mess. Because what we are seeing, in fact, this time around, we are not talking about the party. The party is a different thing. We are talking about a candidate who have the masses in mind, who can give us what we want. We need P2B. We need P2B, and we want him to come and rescue us out of it.
Now, Professor Patrick Lumumba, a former director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, has been urging peace ahead of tomorrow's election in Nigeria.
Regarding the elections in Nigeria, of course, I'm not a Jewish prophet. So I'm not going to speculate as to who will be elected, but I believe that Nigerians will have the opportunity of making a clear statement that they want a united Nigeria. They want a Nigeria that will play its leading role in the continent of Africa. They want a Nigeria that is united in our diversity. They want a Nigeria where people are judged by the content of their character, not by their ethnicity or religious affiliation. And I hope that that decision will be made on Saturday, the 25th day of the month of February this year. I pray for them, and I hope that they'll do the right thing. Because if they don't, then Africa will be the poorer.
Now to other stories, and fishermen at Jamestown and other coastal parts of the country are lamenting the continuous dumping of plastic waste in the ocean. According to the fishermen, the practice is gradually making them catch more plastics instead of fish, and this is affecting their livelihood. Now here are excerpts of our hotline documentary, A Sea of Plastics.
The rubbish and properly dispose them. They wait until it's raining and then they pour them in the gutters and the lagoon.
Once upon a time, it was the habitat for aquatic life, mainly tilapia, mudfish, crabs and shrimps. What remains of it today are sachet rubbers, empty plastic bottles and other types of solid wastes.
The garbage really worries us. Diapers and all manner of garbage are really a nuisance to us. We can go fishing and return with virtually no fish. All of them will be plastics. The plastic often entangle the propeller of the outboard motor. The garbage emanates from the Kole Lagoon, and we also contribute immensely from our various homes.
So the documentary airs on Monday at 8:30 a.m. on radio and 8:30 p.m. on the JoyNews channel. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with business. Stay with us.
Hello, good afternoon. Warm welcome to the business segment on JoyNews. Today with me, Pius Kojo. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture has assured that it will ensure budgetary allocation for all agricultural colleges to keep the legacy of modernizing agriculture in Ghana. According to the Deputy Agric Minister, Yao Frimpong Ado, maintaining facilities of these institutions is the only way to ensure that policies like technical education, development for modernized agriculture in Ghana do not die off. There is more in this report.
The government of Canada in 2017 implemented a technical education development for modernized agriculture in Ghana TEDMAC project. The $135 million project was to revamp curriculum at agri colleges and complement Ghana's modernizing agriculture agenda. Speaking at the final stakeholder meeting of the TEDMAC project, Deputy Agric Minister Yao Frimpong Ado indicated that the project has been a success and government will continue to allocate funds to agriculture colleges.
Once these facilities have been upgraded, it is up to the ministry to also put it in the annual budgets for maintenance. Because if you're able to maintain these facilities, it will be with us for a long time to come, and that will be good for the country. In order for the program not to die, all we need to do is to have budgetary allocation for the maintenance of the facilities, and that's exactly what we are going to ensure that we do.
Head of Cooperation at the High Commission of Canada in Ghana, Kathleen Flynn Dapa, emphasized that the TEDMAC project prioritizes empowering women along the agricultural value chain.
I would like to note that Canada and Ghana have been working together to advance gender equality through this program as well. Through our partnership with the Government of Ghana and non-government organizations, women in agriculture in Ghana are empowered in various ways. They have higher levels of financial autonomy, allowing them to buy some land, to purchase rudimentary agro-processing machines, to expand their agro-processing activities, and with those extra resources to add rooms to their homes and to pay fees for their children.
One of the beneficiaries, Sidonia Akampisi, a student of Damangu Agricultural College, shared how the project has impacted her life.
TEDMAC has really changed that perception we have for agric, that agric is no good. In fact, they say agric is the backbone of the economy, but I believe agric is the oxygen of the economy. My backbone may break, I may die, but if I have oxygen, I still live. So I believe agric is the oxygen of the economy. And TEDMAC has really impacted us to have that zeal for agric, that passion for agric.
The Technical Education Development for Modernized Agriculture in Ghana project ran from 2017 to 2022.
Now, Zenith Bank Ghana, in partnership with the World Trade Center and Alibaba.com, has launched the Alibaba Global Seller Training e-course masterclass. The training session is intended to equip small and medium-sized organizations with the needed insight to promote their businesses on Alibaba.com. There is more in this report.
As part of Ghana's quest to boost revenue from export, it has become important to leverage technology to maximize the country's export. The Alibaba Global Seller Training e-course masterclass will train startups on how to list products on e-commerce platforms. Speaking to Joy Business, divisional head in charge of marketing at Zenith Bank, Kwame Adade, said Zenith Bank is committed to supporting SMEs maximize their full potential and expand to global markets.
Realized at Zenith Bank was that apart from the problems that sometimes SMEs face with facilities, they also face problems in accessing markets. You know, their reach in terms of making themselves visible is not always there. And we felt that if we're able to come on board with Alibaba, we'll be able to help them reach out to the greater space outside, even beyond Ghana, so that we can also help our SMEs grow beyond this particular country. There's a market in Ghana, there's a market out there as well. So we just felt that we needed to help them access it as well. And it also brings in much needed effects for the country.
Executive Director for World Trade Center Ghana, Edem Yevuche, said it was time for the African market to benefit from e-commerce platforms by listing their products instead of just buying from such platforms.
Technology is enabling a lot of business opportunities that previously may not have existed. You are able to interact and transact business with people all over the world with just the click of a button. And it was, in my opinion, an injustice that users in Africa could use the platform to import, but couldn't use it to export. It has always been possible to import on Alibaba.com. It means you can spend your money there, but it was not possible to earn money there. And that is why when we started to engage with Alibaba, we committed a lot of resources and we leveraged our global network to put some pressure to ensure. And Alibaba was more than willing to come to the table to negotiate.
Deputy Director of the Ghana Export Promotion Center, Abdallah Banda, advised SMEs to keep themselves abreast with required product standards to be able to access other markets.
To go online, to have a presence, you need to streamline certain activities to be able to present. Your packaging should be nice, all right? You should have a good packaging and branding. And at GEPA, we have consistently tried to assist SMEs when it comes to packaging and labeling, when it comes to brand presence. We try as much as possible to assist them to be able to take advantage of our services.
The training session, which will last until the 9th of March at the World Trade Center, Accra, will see various experts take participants through practical training sessions on listing a business online.
And that's it for business. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Darrell Kwa will come your way at 1 p.m. with the marketplace.
Muftaw Nabila Abdullah here with sports on JoyNews today. President of the country, Nana Akufo-Addo, has eulogized former Ghana international Mohamed Ahmed Polo for his decision to put together a 5-year development plan for football in the country. According to him, the commitment of former athletes to the development of sports in the country is one he admires.
We do not support Hearts of Oak. We recognize your talent, and continue to acknowledge all that you have done for Ghanaian football and Ghanaian sports. It's been a lifetime's contribution, And we're all very grateful to you for that. I think the two books, the two papers that you have presented to me today are absolutely on point, just as your visit today is on point. There's always the right time to meet, and this is the right time. Despite all that has gone before, this is the right time. I'm always encouraged by citizens of this country that continue to show an interest in the development of our country in their areas of speciality, even long after they themselves are active in the area. And that is a real love of country that you demonstrate in doing that. And I find it really, really commendable, highly appreciated. It's an example you're setting for the future generation of people, that long after you stop playing, you can continue to have an interest and an impact on the development of the sport. I'm very confident that the great days of Ghanaian football will be back. Sure. Yes, and we'll be back soon.
The great days of Ghanaian football would be back, and that also is the beginning of the Black Queens as they seek to reclaim their lost glory, headed by their head coach, Nora. She's been speaking following the team's victory over Benin in international friendly. She said she's so excited that she started reign as head of the technical team of the Black Queens with a win, and she's very confident it is the beginning of greater days ahead.
The expected ball possession against Benin, I think in the beginning it's always we need to find a bit each other on the pitch. After 30 minutes we started to score, so I think we had a good hour on the pitch, leading 3-0. Of course, we created a lot of chances, so we should have scored 8-9 goals. So the efficiency was not on the pitch, but it also we did a lot of changements to see some players, to give playing time to the whole squad. This is taking then a little bit the rhythm also away. So maybe the netto playing time of this game was only 45 minutes. Yes, I think in the second half we also created our chances. We say the XG factor, so this is how much goals we score out of our chances. It was bad, we were not efficient. But in the end, it was also to bring the players on the pitch, that we see them playing. We are still in a scouting process where we try to find the right squad to go to the Wafusson B Cup. And then it was also to bring those on the pitch and let them play. Yeah, it's always special to play the first game for me, but also for the player in this group together. It has been a long time since all those internationals came in. So it was, of course, special for me, and it's always good to start with a victory, but we also know that we have still some work to do.
That's your sports for now, but we do have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com. I am Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Up next is World News.
Good afternoon, welcome to Showbiz here on Joy News. Today now, Joe Metal and the Bethel Revival Choir are ready to take the people of Togo through a wonderful time of worship and praise at the Togo in Worship concert. The event is set to take place on the 25th of February 2023. Here is Joe Metal on what patrons should expect.
Of Bethel, we came together to put this up to be a blessing to the people in Togo. But not only as Akesi Brimpo is joining us, Kofi Kakari is joining us, Philippa Jale. Then even in Togo, we have one young man called Mao Totate who is also joining us as we lift up praise and worship. So the same thing we do here. Each time it's just Ghana or Somalia, but this time we've decided to take it to our brothers and sisters there.
Away from that, comedian Michael Blankson has named Shatta Wale, Stonebwoy, Sarkodie and Black Sherif as the only superstars from Ghana. He made this comment in an interview on the Drink Champs podcast. According to Michael, these 4 superstars mentioned are the only ones that Ghana has when it comes to international representations as compared to Nigerians. Now, Black Sherif has reached another milestone this time. The breakout star has channeled his artistic prowess into a song for the upcoming blockbuster movie Creed 3. American superstar J. Cole's record is executive producing the soundtrack for Michael B. Jordan's movie. Now, a federal judge on Thursday sentenced R. Kelly to 20 years in prison for child sex crimes after a jury found that he had produced 3 videos of himself sexually abusing his 14-year-old goddaughter. In a victory for the defense, the judge ruled that all but 1 year of the prison sentence will be served at the same time as the previous 30-year sentence that Mr. Kelly received after a jury in Brooklyn convicted him of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. The jury in Chicago convicted Mr. Kelly of 6 of the 13 charges brought against him in connection with sexual abuse during the 1990s, including 3 counts of coercing minors into sexual activities and 3 of producing sex tapes involving a minor. He was acquitted of a charge that he had attempted to obstruct an earlier investigations into his abuse of the goddaughter and 2 other counts of enticing minors to have sex. Well, on that note, we end showbiz here on JoyNews today, the small showbiz news in our subsequent bulletins. Also remember that E-Vibes is on tomorrow. We continue the E-Vibes USA series tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. on the JoyNews channel, and also on Joy Prime is 4:30 p.m. So please make a date.